Hello, hello. It is good to be back in your living room with you for another Sunday night family worship. So last week we learned that we can glorify God by loving Him and what? Let me hear you. That's right, by obeying His commands and law. Well, if we want to glorify God, then don't you think it's important that we know what the commands and law of God are? Of course it is, and that is exactly what we're going to learn about today. But first, here's a question for you. How many of you out there just love rules? Raise your hand. Anybody? Well, I see just a couple of you out there who raised your hand, but not very many. You mean you don't like having rules that tell you what you can do and what you can't do? Now just imagine with me. What would you do if there were no rules at all? Would you eat all the candy you could stuff into your mouth? Or would you watch TV all day long? Or maybe for you adults, would you just drive your car as fast as it would take you down the highway? Just imagine if there were no rules or any laws for driving. Wouldn't it be great? I mean, man, you wouldn't have to stop at those stop signs anymore. You could drive around without the hassle of having to put on that seatbelt every time you go out, or you could drive 100 miles an hour whenever you want. You could even drive on the left side of the road. Wouldn't that just be awesome? Wait, it wouldn't? You don't think that would be a good idea? But why not? Oh, you think that having no rules might actually be worse for drivers? That it might actually be dangerous? Yeah, I guess I could see that. I'm just kidding. Of course that wouldn't be a great idea. And just like the rules and laws for driving are given for our protection, for order, and for our good, God's law is also given to us not to spoil our fun, but to actually give us freedom to live life as God, our creator and designer, made us to live. Living according to God's law will bring about the most good for our lives. And while that's hard to understand sometimes, that's where we have to trust God and His plans for us. So, are you ready? Are you ready to learn what the law of God requires of us? Well, so am I. So let's jump in. We'll start off in the Wheeler home, worshiping God as we add the second verse to the hymn, All Creatures of Our God and King.
All creatures of our God and King, lift up your voice and with us sing. Oh, praise Him, hallelujah. Thou burning sun with golden beam, thou silver moon with salter gleam. Oh, praise Him, oh, praise Him. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Thou rushing wind that art so strong, ye clouds that sail in heaven along. Oh, praise Him, hallelujah. Thou rising morning, praise rejoice. Ye lights of evening, find a voice. Oh, praise Him, oh, praise Him. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
What does the law of God require?
That we love God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love our neighbors as ourselves.
What does the law of God require?
That we love God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love our neighbors as ourselves.
What does the law of God require? What does the law of God require? That we love God with all our heart, with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love our neighbor, and love our neighbor, and love our neighbor as ourselves. What does the law of God require? What does the law of God require? That we love God with all our heart, with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love our neighbor, and love our neighbor, and love our neighbor as ourselves.
Hi guys.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Good.
Welcome to our discussion tonight on the law of God.
Oh,
I'm going to have Clara read the question for tonight.
great. Thank you. What does the law of God require?
Require. The answer, that we love God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength.
I know.
And we love our neighbors as ourselves. Can you guys say that with me? What does the law of God require? That we love God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength. And that we love our neighbors as ourselves. So, Matthew 22:37 says, "And Jesus said to them, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. This is the greatest commandment. And the second is like it, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments depend the law and the prophets." So guys, are we able to do this? Are we able to follow this rule on our own?
No.
Are you able to obey Mom? Are you able to obey Dad?
Yeah.
Yeah? No trouble at all?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. What happens when we mess up?
We need Jesus.
Oh,
A ton.
we can't make it, can we?
No. Yeah.
But the good news is we know someone who can.
It's Jesus.
He loves you big time.
Jesus.
And his ability to cover the law covers us.
Yep.
And he gives us a new heart so that we can go out to other people. This catechism talks about our neighbors. Do you guys know where some neighbors are? Point to some neighbors for me.
Is anybody coming?
Point to a different neighbor. Another one. No, not that one. Point to another neighbor.
There's neighbors everywhere.
What? Are there neighbors all around?
Yeah, right here and right there.
What are we? How are we supposed to think? How are we supposed to think about our neighbor?
As ourselves.
Let's do this again. What does the law of God require?
That we love,
That we love God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength. And that we love our neighbors as ourselves.
Wow. So all the laws and commands of God boil down to just two things: loving God and loving others. Sounds pretty simple, right? And yet we can all see that we often don't love God, or we don't love others the way that we should. But that's why we need a Savior, one who perfectly loved God and others for us. And His name is Jesus. When we trust in Him as our substitute, then God looks at us and He sees His perfectly loving, perfectly obedient Son, Jesus. And because Jesus now lives in us by His Spirit, then we can be confident that He's at work to change our desires. We can be confident that He's at work to give us new motivations to grow in loving God more and loving our neighbor more. There is hope that we can be more loving because of Jesus inside us. Well, enjoy continuing in this topic with the rest of your family time, and I'll be seeing you again soon.